Our next speaker, Agroforestry Farm. He has international speaking engagements in the past during the International Land Care Conference in Darwin, Australia, and Nagoya, Japan in 2005 and 2018 respectively. He also was a speaker during the Second National Agroforestry Congress in Pili, Camarines Sur back in 2004. Presently, he is the president of the Land Care Foundation of the Philippines, LFPI Incorporated, and the Samahan ng Magsasakang Siyentista ng Pilipinas. He's also a member of the Board of Trustees of Kalasan Incorporated, SONATA Mindanao, and Samahan ng Sakahang Pangturismo ng Pilipinas. I bring to you Mr. Henry Binahon. Sir, take it away, Mr. Henry.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction.
Thank you, Sir Henry. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening.
You can share your screen, sir, your slides.
Yeah.
By the way, we have 48 participants now. So like every minute, like increase by 2 or yeah, around that number. So welcome participants.
Once again, good evening to all, and then thank you for inviting me to be part of this conference, and then thank you also for the host, Dennis and Ben, and thank you for all the participants for attending this conference. So this is the conference of the new normal. So there was a plan before that we will be having a face-to-face conference, but because of COVID-19, so we shift to the new normal. So hopefully the situation will back to the things that we are used to. So I'll be presenting today my personal experience on agroforestry, and then using native trees and other components of the agroforestry system. So I'll be presenting my almost 3-decade experience on agroforestry, starting from a small idea, and now it's one of the tourist destination in the region, and we are having some line that we are the first and the best agroforestry farm tourism in the country. Can you see my slide now?
Yes, sir. We can see your slide. The beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So sorry for the adjustment. No, we're in the new normal, and then to be frank, we are not used to this technology. Okay. So can I start now? This is the picture of one of the sites in the farm, and then. So the title of my presentation is to balance the economics and environment in agroforestry system. So the whole presentation will give definition on agroforestry farming system, and then the discussion on economics, and then a little bit of environment. Then the next speaker will be having some lengthy discussion on the environment side. So I would like to share my famous quote. This is the original quote, no? Farm shall be a place of abundance and a place to commune with nature. So abundance in terms of food, abundance in terms of basic resources, and then abundance of other things that you need to survive. And then in the same time, the farm will be a place to commune with nature with trees, with birds, and then other things. So to do that, we must have to do planting. So plant, and then as the result of our planting activity, what we eat in our family, what we eat, that we dine with our family, so it is sourced from the plants, no? We eat what we have planted. And then we also build our experience. We live in a house, in the houses that we have built from the trees that we have planted. So first line, I just write house, but I do the inventory. It's we have 5 houses made of the trees that we have planted within the decades of planting. And then we earn good money from the sales of seedlings. We do business with seedlings, food crops, farm byproducts, agri-related trainings, and farm tourism. And then we also touch lives of many through sharing of our experiences and insights. I hope that some of you will be touched by this presentation. And then we help forest restoration, improve biodiversity, and then improve also the watershed functions and conservation of indigenous knowledge system. And then by the initiative of planting trees and doing agroforestry, we believe that we help combat climate change or climate emergency. So at present, climate change is not the name of the game. It's climate emergency. An emergency needs action. So the Binahon Agroforestry Farm, I just like to share with you some background of the farm. It's a family-owned and managed farm, and then the farm is situated at the foot slope south of the Mount Kitanglad Range Natural Park in the province of Bukidnon in Mindanao Island. So the farm is situated within 1,300 meters above sea level. So the farm is established in 1992. It's a 28-year-old farm, including the trees. And presently, the farm is working within the framework of farm tourism. So we're the first agroforestry farm tourism in the country, and maybe the best. So the picture is our award last year. No, we are awarded. We are an awardee of the search for excellence in ecology and economy that was been awarded to us by the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry at Taguig City in October 2019. And then this is I would like to share with you the map, whoever wants to visit the farm, but this is Malaybalay is the capital town, capital city of the province of Bukidnon. And then from Malaybalay, somewhere at the midst of Malaybalay City and Valencia, there's a road going right, a new diversion road going to Cagayan de Oro. So that's the Binahon Agroforestry Farm, an estimated land trip from the airport. It's about 3 hours from for the use of private vehicle. So I would like to share with you some components in the farm. Pictures are all original coming from the farm. So one is the trees with industrial crops. This is a combination of 5 components in summary. And then, so the trees, industrial crops, and root crops. This is characterized with a tree as the major element or a major component, the highest component of the system. And then the second layer of the system is the fruit trees, the durian, and then we have third layer, the cafe. And then we have different types of root crops. We have the yacon, we have the gabi, and we have the lutea. This is an agroforestry system with trees, industrial crops, and root crops. So this is another picture. And then the second is the industrial crops with livestock. So we have chicken under the canopy. Trees is the highest layer. And then the second, we have abaca, we have some fruit trees, and then chicken are crawling in the ground. And then we have also some swine under the canopy also. So the third is the trees, industrial crops, and seedling nursery. So we utilize the underneath the trees. We planted lanzones, we planted cacao, we planted cafe, and then seedlings in the ground. So it's a multi-layer, but this is the most economically efficient, because every square meter has a lot of economic potential. So we will not be, maybe we'll just estimate the figure later. And then, yeah, this is the same picture, no, with cafe. And then this is more sustainable. And then expanding trees in the landscape. Trees and vegetable crops. So we have the first picture shows that there's a lawan and then lawan and some trees in the hedgerow and with carrots, with broccoli and other things. So we're also having some what do you call farm tours with our brother indigenous people in the province. And then yeah, this is the picture. And then the fourth I think is the trees or the trees. This is the most unique in our experience. So trees with food and accommodation services. This is related to farm tourism. So we have trees and then we have restaurant, we have food processing, we have function, including the kitchen. So this big building. The other picture shows that with trees and we have accommodations with a small jacuzzi, and then the bamboos that we constructed, the bamboo that we constructed for some accommodation are bamboos that we have planted within the 28 years of existence. So there are trees, and then trees are also planted with abaca, with some fruit trees underneath, and then there's a housing. So you can have trees, you can have money out of trees without cutting them, without selling them to the lumberyard or to the furniture shop, so that you can have money. But doing these things, the money will just go to your farm. So the money people will be bringing money and enjoy the ambience, enjoy the nature, and you will be having hard time in collecting money. And then the last is the trees with campsite. No, we have designated campsite in the farm. The picture first is we have endemic native trees, the ulayan with kape, and some tables, outdoor tables. And this another thing is we have picnic area. So people will have time there to do outings, overnight campings, bonfire, and other things. So the same with food and accommodation, people will be coming and then paying for services and including the goods. So because they will be buying food, they will be buying vegetables, sometimes meat and chicken for their barbecue and roasting while enjoying the bonfire. And then we have just saying, the branches, the fallen branches and the field log, we cut it into firewood, and we will be selling firewood for bonfire at 100 pesos per bundle. No, these are some small or little things that we're doing good money out of the agroforestry system. So I hope that component explains well about agroforestry system. And in our products, we'll be sharing also our products now, because this is part of the economic activities on the farm. So we have seedlings, we have vegetable crops, we have processed foods, we have egg and poultry, we have meat. So the basket, this basket are composed of products in the farm, and we do a door-to-door delivery during the onset of community quarantine. So we also shifted with the new normal, adapting the new normal on how to make money out of the produce in the farm, because for 3 months we closed the farm for farm tourism activity, and this is an offshoot on how to survive within the new normal. And then we do also trainings and consultancy services. Also we are being paid for trainings and then doing farm tourism. And then we have also van rental, because we are farm tourism, operating with farm tourism, and then our guests coming from the airport, we have van to fix them to the farm, and then from the farm go back to other destination, and we have tracking services for the delivery of seedlings. Okay, so these are some of our products, vegetables. So our vegetable production, we do it little by little, and do the production sustainably. So every day we have harvest of cabbage, some vegetables, some carrots, and other things whole year round. That's how to do sustainable farming system. So the other picture that's our healthy drinks, juices, healthy drinks, vegetable juices, and Bart is one of our loyal customers. So he have already booked for tomorrow's purchases. So in doing all these things, we must have to recognize that we have partner agencies, particularly government agency, the Department of Agriculture, the Agriculture Training Institute, because they provide assistance in developing the farm as learning site for agriculture and school for agriculture. And then the second is partnership or accreditation with the Bureau of Plant Industry. I think if we engage in seedling business, particularly fruits and high value crops, we must be accredited with the Bureau of Plant Industry in order that our seedlings will be certified and acceptable to the end user, particularly the Department of Agriculture. And then partnership also with the Department of Science and Technology, as what have mentioned by the previous speaker, the science in the things that we are doing. So we partner with the Department of Science and Technology for action research, particularly on chemical-free carrot production, then processing, value adding, and other things as part component of the agroforestry system. And then we have also TESDA partnership. TESDA is providing what we call scholarship trainings for us. So we are also what we call a farm school of TESDA. And then we're sharing our experience. We're training farmers for organic agriculture production, crop production. Recently, there's a new what we call training regulation of the TESDA on coffee production, including the bamboo. That will be an additional income in the farm, in the system, because you're sharing your technology in a package, in a training package, and then TESDA will be paying you of a certain amount for what we call for the scholars. And then Department of Tourism, the Department of Tourism are providing assistance in terms of capacitating or increasing the capability of the staff on how to manage the visitors, how to, the visitors will be happy and they will be satisfied of their visit so that they will be going back every time and bringing money, giving money to the operator in lieu of goods and services. We have also partnership with the ECRAP, the World Agroforestry Center on technology research, what we call research exchange in other parts of the globe in how they're doing conservation, particularly on agroforestry, then LPI, the academy, and the civil society organizations. So in doing business as what we have experienced, the most important thing is we register our business name to the Department of Trade and Industry or the Cooperative Development Authority, Co-op, or the SEC. So the SONATA is ongoing registration with the SEC. Hopefully SONATA will be our business arm. And then registration with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the BIR, and then mayor's or business permit from the local government unit in order our business is legal. The fourth one is the registration with the PhilGEPS. This is the Philippine Government Electronic Procurement System, because all of the transactions of the government, all of the procurement of the government requires registration with the PhilGEPS. And there's no transaction. If you are not PhilGEP registered, you cannot supply seedlings and other goods to the government. By the way, the government, our government partner, the Department of Agriculture, the DNR, and other government agency, peer experience are the biggest, the biggest buyer of our product, farm produced seedlings, other things, particularly during the new normal. And then accreditation with the following agency, the DNR for forestry nursery, the native trees, and accreditation of the seedling grower. And then some of the LGUs also, when you have to supply seedlings to their office, so they require accreditation for accreditation from the local government unit, and then accreditation with the Bureau of Plant Industry for fruit tree nursery operators, and then accreditation with the parent plant, the provenance, and then last year there's a directive that all seedlings that are what we call needs some tagging from the Bureau of Plant Industry. So seedlings that are supplied to the Department of Agriculture are really certified as quality seedlings. And then the proof of that is there's a tagging. Every seedlings will bear a tag coding. So that's how to do business with the government on supplying seedlings. Okay. So just a sample of durian, and then of mother tree, and then some seedlings, Mulavi seedlings. And then we also develop a line in the farm, no? Because we are farm tourism, and then we always share this to our visitors that their happiness is our business. So the picture shows that people are coming, they're very happy, and then the same. So you provide happiness to your guests, but you are making good money. That sounds good. And then our famous line, our farm, our life, our future. So our life really, family life evolves or revolves within the framework of the farm, as what I mentioned earlier. And then the farm also will be the will be the key to the good future. So farm experience, this is a promotion now. Farm experience packages under the new normal. We have the day tour, we have farm stay, and we have training. Next week we are having some guests from other municipality, strictly observing the protocols. That's why I also included in the picture the safety first that was being issued, or that was being but that was being department.
Overnight na.
1 to 5.
Ang
1.5 includes food and accommodation. That's for one person, and then 2,800 for two. But observe social distancing. Yeah. And then if you want to visit us, talk to us. This is our address. There we have Facebook page, and then my number, and then you can email us. And then that's all. And then salamat. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. Mabuhay.
Okay, thank you, Sir Henry. So now let's proceed to questions and answer and interactions. So you can unmute your mic and you can ask your question to Sir Henry. You can also use the chat box.
Hi.
Sir Dennis.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Hello, sir.
Go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Good evening, sir. I'm Nico from Mlang, Cotabato. So, question lang, sir. How many hectares po yung farm ninyo?
Yung farm tourism is we have about 8 hectares, but it's a compact farming. And then, as I have mentioned in the component, there are several layers on production system, because agroforestry is characterized with what we call the multi-layer system.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Sir?
Hello.
Hello. Sir, may I ask? Po?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sir, that is near, as per the description, that is near the Mount Kitanglad range. May I ask if it is not part of the protected area, or should I say within the foothill of the protected area?
Yeah. It's outside the protected area, and outside the buffer zone, it's situated within an alienable and disposable area. Yeah.
That would be all, sir. Back to you, Sir Dennis.
Hello. A question.
Yes, sir.
More or less, yung farm more on tourism, mo, not farm tourism. Kasi you have seedling tree farming, but not done on industrial scale, no. And then you have some swine. And ang pork ngayon here in Metro Manila, it's 450 per kilo. Goat meat, it's 450 per kilo rin. That's all.
Yeah, I think we have advantage in Mindanao, particularly in the province of Bukidnon, because we have still enough area to grow trees, to grow or to raise livestock. Our swine is not on a commercial scale or large scale. So we just have a number of heads of swine, and then the swine is just we butcher the swine and then feed to supply for the restaurant, for barbecue, for some So we don't sell pork from outside. So in order that the farm will be self-sustaining. But in the at the start, during this is just to share information to our fellow participants. So we really started from an idea, start a little, no? Right, start from idea, then seeds, then converting seeds to seedlings, then plant the seedlings, and now it's almost 30-year-old trees that are growing in the farm. Some are harvested for houses and then other uses in the farm.
Thank you.
Hello.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hello. So what's the difference between? I thought your farm is somewhat close to permaculture.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So agroforestry, permaculture are just part of a sustainable agriculture.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the difference between because there's a different authorities who originated or who authored permaculture and then agroforestry.
Exactly.
In the early agroforestry was being practiced by our ancestors in the early times, and then permaculture was being also introduced from Australian farmer. And then the difference, as description, because I have also a seminar on permaculture design. The difference, it's quite similar, but more emphasis on permaculture is about the zoning of the area, in which minimizing the waste of energy in accessing to your plants and other farm components. So it's particular on zoning, and then recognizing in permaculture, recognizing the relationship between the biotic and the abiotic component, the living things and the non-living, including the observance of the functions of the food chain within the farming system or permaculture system.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, this is Iking Kadayona.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, Brad.
Good evening.
Okay,
good
before
evening.
I throw my second question, may I ask what's the elevation of your area? Because I have some few concerns about the performance of your durian at that elevation. What is the exact elevation? When temperature will always become a limiting factor to any fruit production beyond 800 meters above sea level. What is the performance of your durian in terms of quality and quantity?
So the first question is, the farm is
what is the elevation? Yeah, the first. What's the elevation? Come again, sir?
1,300 meters above sea level.
If it is 1,300 meters above sea level, then my second question is that what is now the performance of your durian in terms of quality and quantity?
Our durian, particularly the Puyat variety, has long gestating period, as I use that term. No? It's a long maturity period when maybe 10, 12 years, even it's grafted, before it will bear fruit, good fruit. So we have the first fruit of our durian, lesser fruit, but so we have observed the first fruit in the first year was all seedless. Really, the durian has no seeds, so even it's puyat. And then this year, when you visited the farm, some durian have already mature fruits this month, and then there's still flowers. Maybe there's something to do with what we call impact of climate change, because even durians and other fruit trees have some showing abnormal behavior, because it's seldom for the fruit trees that there's a fruit and then there's again another flower. So there's no pronounced season for the durian. But I think based on literature, durian are more, because it's tropical, durian are more favorable in terms of production in the elevation 800 meters below, if I'm correct. And then in upper altitude, they have less performance. But in terms of quality, the sweetness, I think sometimes we say our durian is much sweeter than the durian in the lowland. But I think the production, in terms of production in the lowland, I think there's a difference on the production. But what is good thing in the agroforestry and multi-story system, because you have a lot of option. You have trees as the highest component, the tallest and the biggest component of the agroforestry system, and then you have now fruit trees, and then we mix it with durian and lanzones, and the lanzones is not yet performing, and then we have cafe, and then we have root crops, and then I think the production capacity, having the diversity of produce, it's much more comparing to a monoculture on the durian production. And then we can also have some, we can say that there's already a balance of the system in balancing the potential pests, because the insects and the pests are in what we call in balance now. There's no over population of a certain insects or rodent that will become pests that destroys some of the components in the system. And then another thing that you have visited the farm, and I have planted a lot of lanzones the same year that was planted with durian, but still not performing well. But I have still good hope, because the earth is, because of climate change, the earth is changing. The climatic condition is changing, and that's my hope. When the earth will become hotter, so the lanzones will perform in the high altitude.
Yeah, you're correct on that aspect, sir, because temperature will always be a limiting factor for any fruit production. You go at 1,000 meters above sea level, there will always be a drop of 1 degree Celsius per every 100 meters of increase in temperature. That's why, as you mentioned, that it will always be safer to plant durian lanzones at 800 meters above sea level. So that's why I would like to ask the question, what was the quality? You said it's good, but what was the quantity?
Yeah, this year or last year, we have full bearing durian trees, and then the quality, it's not so big, but there are a lot of fruits, and sometimes the branches will break because of the overload of fruits. So meaning,
it has a good quantity.
The protein performance is it's
Okay.
much plenty than the capacity of the branches to hold, because it breaks, and we must have to do wrapping of bamboo.
Thank you for answering the question, sir.
Sir, may I ask the question? Mr. Moderator, may I have the screen?
You want to share the screen?
And then I'd like to have requesting for. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, sir, question because it's an agroforestry and you have farm. It's a farm, no? It's really a farm. What I would like to ask is, because Bukidnon is part of the headwaters of the water supply of the area in Mindanao. In terms of what do you call this? pesticides, chemicals. What is your farm? How do you manage the pests and chemical fertilizers in the farm, especially that Bukidnon is the headwater? No, it's a high elevation and it's a headwater of various waterways in Mindanao.
Okay, so during my the 10 years in the farm, I used to do chemical farming because that's the trend in all the vegetable producer in the area. But lately, I have realized that doing agroforestry with chemical is not working good because we are conserving the ecosystem, but you're still polluting by the use of chemical pesticide and chemical fertilizer. So maybe 10 years back, we zero the use of chemical fertilizer and we zero the use of pesticide. And then occurrence of pests, and then realizing also that pests and other, what you call insects, rodents, and fungus are not pests in their original form. They are part of the ecosystem. If you manage well the farm ecosystem, including the insects and other uh, biological component in the farm in a harmonious balance, so there's a lesser tendency of having pests in the farm because pests, there will be predators, so they will not become pests because insects, fungus, rodents are not pests in their original form. They are part of the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we will proceed to the next speaker. Reserve your questions later after the next speaker. So we will still have time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then may I request Sir Ben again to introduce our second speaker. Hello, Sir Ben.
I'm sorry about that. I was just going over my notes. No? So good evening again, everyone. Um, it is my honor to introduce the next speaker. And excuse me, I'm just looking for it because I'm getting lost. Okay. Okay. Here we go. No? Our next speaker is an internationally recognized mangrove scientist and currently the chief mangrove scientific advisor of the Zoological Society of London. She has a BS zoology. She has a BS in zoology, a PhD in marine science from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, an MA zoology from the Indiana University, and a PhD in science honoris causa from Stockholm University. Her scientific contributions include studies in aquaculture, of marine shrimp, science-based conservation of mangroves, and beach forest identification and propagation. She has more than 140 scientific research papers, reviews, manuals, books, and other publications, and serves as board member and scientific advisor of various organizations. She is the lead author of 4 GSL manuals on mangrove rehabilitation, pond mangrove reversion, and beach forest propagation. She has also been given around 300 keynote lectures. She has also given, around 300 keynote lectures, presentations, panel contributions in national and international conferences and meetings. She was elected to the Swedish Royal Academy on Agriculture and Forestry, Royal Belgian Academy for Overseas Sciences, Phi Kappa Phi, and other honor societies. She was named Scientist Emerita of SafeDec/AQD upon retirement in 2007. One of the 30 Time Magazine Heroes of the Environment and 50 DOST Men and Women of Science in 2008, and the University of the Philippines Distinguished Alumni Awardee in Environmental Conservation and Sustainable Development in 2009. She is also a member of the Philippine National Academy of Science and Technology and a Pew Fellow in Marine Conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Doctora Jurgenne Primavera. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening to everyone. I think this is okay. You see it na ba? No. Share. Okay. Is this okay na, Dennis? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your beach forest.
Okay. My topic is on beach forests for coastal protection and reforestation. And this plant here is balabago or Hibiscus tiliaceus. It also has ornamental uses, but Dennis said maybe we can have it next time. It will make the seminar too long. First, what are beach forests? We see this profile. At the top, you have the mossy forest, dipterocarps, mangroves, and you have the beach forest there. They start from the beach, and they can go up to 200 kilometers inland, the trees that belong to the beach forest ecosystem, so long as the elevation is within 200 meters above sea level. So the photos show some examples of beach forest species. This table shows many places or place names named after beach forest species. Very quickly, we have Bituon or Botong after Barringtonia asiatica, Dangkalan or Bitaog, Pitogo, Dapdap, Balabago, Maribago, Ipil, and for example, Banilad. The people in Dumaguete and in Cebu do not know that their barangay is actually a beach forest tree, Sterculia ceramica. And Banago, the people in Bacolod don't know that Banago is actually another beach forest species. But of course, we all know Talisay, no? This is the most favorite name for coastal towns, and that is a tree. And this is another beach forest tree called Balu or Coron, Cordia subcordata, which I thought was the basis for Coron Palawan, until I saw this tree, Hernandia nymphifolia, also named Coron, and read this book, Kahoy, PhD thesis actually, which stated that this tree was called by the Tagalogs as kulong-kolong, kulong, nakakulong, no? Because the fruit, it's called a lantern fruit, has the seed inside. Nakakulong ang, I was about to say liso, ang buto sa loob. So kolong-kolong, but the Spanish cannot pronounce L, so they made it Coron. And this is most probably the basis for the name Coron and in Palawan and other places. Now, most places are named after trees, but there is one tree that is named after a place. No, it is the opposite, and that is the Iloilo tree. What you see here, way back in 1820, I cannot see now because it's covered, 25 I think, it was named by Bloom, Aglaya argentea, because of the underside of leaves that look silvery. Argent is the French for silver. Later, the Spanish priest in the Philippines, Father Blanco, thinking it was a new species, named it Aglaya iloilo, only to find out that it had already been described. So he had to change the name. He had to use the earlier name. But he kept Iloilo as the local name. So local name is Aglaya iloilo. And one of my friends, when she went to Initaw Libertad, no? Many of you are from Mindanao, that is a protected area in Misamis, saw this big tree, the Iloilo tree, about 30 meters tall. And so when I saw that, I immediately contacted the person hugging the tree, that's Henry Harme of Naawan, asked him to look for some wildlings. And he did. He asked permission from DNR, PAMBI. He was able to collect, and he kept them for more than half a year until we had a date in Laguindingan Airport. We met there. He brought the wildlings, and I picked them up on my way to Cebu and then to Iloilo. Back to Iloilo, I brought them. Now, this tree, the Iloilo tree, is it not found at all in Iloilo or even Panay? So we found out after a field trip with the Capiz Penro staff to a protected area in Hamindan last year, we found this small seedling of the Iloilo tree in Capiz, and we found many more, no, in that protected area. So I was kidding my Ilonggo friends that we should call it the Initaw tree or the Capiz tree, but not the Iloilo tree, because it's not found in Iloilo. So anyway, the challenge was to bring it back to Iloilo. So I had seedlings. I offered them to the local government, but they were not very receptive. So a school, a Catholic school, Ateneo de Iloilo, the priests there were very receptive, and we planted it on Valentine's Day last year here with Father Howe. Here are students. And the second Iloilo tree to be planted in Iloilo was planted by the doctors here. This is in the Western Visayas Medical Center in August last year. And if you take a look here, there's the mahogany. And so the doctor said that once the Iloilo tree, this one, grows up to maybe 3 meters, they will cut down the exotic mahogany beside it. And finally, the local government said, okay, we will plant the Iloilo tree. In September, that is Senator Drilon, who is an Ilonggo, as you know, we planted this. And last month, this is now how tall it is. So it's really a very nice, beautiful tree, Aglaya argentea. Now we know that peach forests have many functions, but one of the most important is coastal protection. And just very quickly, a review of Typhoon Yolanda, which was the strongest to make landfall in the whole world, no, ever. And after that, in all my lectures, I would have to present this, comparing what happens along the coastline. You have tides, high tide and low tide. You have waves, like here, the wind waves, the ones near the beach, and the swell waves in the laut. You have the storm surge, whose wave height can go up to 12 meters, and the length can go up to 4 kilometers. And finally, the tsunami, the same height, 2 to 40 meters as the storm surge, but one main difference is the length. it is 100 times longer than the storm surge. As we can see here, the tsunami in Japan. Second difference also being that the tsunami starts on the ground, no, with an earthquake, whereas the storm surge starts in the air, in the atmosphere. So this is very basic information. I made this table because I said this should be taught to our Filipino school children, because they get all these typhoons, all these events, and they don't even know what these are. So this is very basic instructional materials that we should have for our primary and secondary grades. For example, typhoons. We have an average of 20 plus a year, and only 8 of these proceed to Vietnam and Thailand. So we have most of the typhoons. And if you look at this graph, typhoons, hurricanes, and cyclones, they are all the same. They are storms. And 1/3 or 30% of these occur here in the Philippines. So not only the frequency, but the intensity, the strength. The reds are the stronger typhoons. And here we are in the Philippines. We have the most and the strongest typhoons. So what happens after a typhoon? We all know this, no? In the newspapers, after a typhoon, the homes, the houses are destroyed, partially or completely. And of course, people die. It used to be just hundreds a year, and then it became thousands. Bofa, 1,000. Sendong in Mindanao, 3,000. And of course, Yolanda, 15,000. And the damage, Pablo was $1 billion, and Yolanda was what, 10 billion US or more. So with such damage, we really should have coastal protection. And here we see the vegetation that contribute to protection from tides, waves, storm waves or storm surge, and tsunamis. So from coral reef, seagrass, to the mangroves, the beach forest is here, and the lowland forest. They're all important. And this other figure shows the effect of both the mangroves. Here, you see these are mangroves, and the beach forest in dissipating energy. So with Yolanda, we saw not only mangrove standing, but in some areas, this is bani or baluk-baluk, and this is talisay. So for those of you who are allergic to scientific names, I have put down the local names there. And of course, the lubi or coconut. Another beech forest species is dita. That's the scientific name. It's very nice for ornamental uses, but also during storms, because this tree, during Typhoon Ondoy, saved 36 people. So they were making a commemorative marker because it saved 37 people, including this lady. She was one of the 37 who climbed up the tree. If you can imagine, you know, 37 people all over one single tree, but that's exactly what happened. So this graph, which is a summary of many scientific papers, shows the effect of trees, how they can attenuate or reduce or absorb the energy of waves, tsunamis, storm surge, that they are important. No? And altogether, the conclusion is that if you talk about waves and you want to reduce it by 60%, you should have 100 meters wide. If you want to reduce all of it by 99%, then you should have 1/2 kilometer. But let us stick to just 100 meters. Because of that, a bill was filed, the National Coastal Green Belt Bill, requiring a strip of vegetation at least 100 meters by Senator Bam Aquino, 2014, after Yolanda. and Representative Batocabe, 2015. Here we had a chance to meet him, some NGOs. Unfortunately, he was killed and Senator Aquino lost in the elections. So it's good that 3 other congressmen filed similar bills in the present Congress. It's 2019, last year. And hopefully now that ABS-CBN is settled, they can now go back on these other pending bills. And hopefully this can move forward. If we look at the average coastline of the Philippines, I've done mangrove work, no? So on the average, we have 20 to 50 meters here of mangroves. But we said that the Greenbelt Bill requires 100 meters. So 100 minus 20, where are we going to get the 80 meters? And the answer is here, in the beech forest, and not here where all the planting is going on, but mostly they die. So here is the beech forest behind the mangrove forest, like here. Your mangrove forest is in front, your beech forest is at the back. But when the slope of the coastline is too steep, no mangroves can survive. So it's just the beech forest that will provide the coastal protection. Like here in Eastern Samar, it's too unprotected and too steep, so there is no mangrove. No, it's only beech forest. So a natural green belt would be the mangrove forest between high tide and low tide, and the beech forest above the high tide. But what we see when people come in, sometimes they keep the mangroves, but they replace the beech forest, no, with the coconut forest, as we see here, or here, and Dipahat forest also. So there is absolutely no coastal protection when you have these structures along the beach. So our my colleagues and I, we wrote, what are these beech forest trees? So we had 2 books in 2012 and 1 in 2016, all the species of beech forest trees and other plants. And we also came out with a field guide. That's my NGO, ZSL. With funding, we had research funded by the German GIZ. So now we come to the National Breeding Program, which said plant 1.5 billion trees, but after 2016, no, 2017, it was extended for another 20 years. But the original NGP said 50% mahogany, gemelina, bagras. So these are introduced or exotic species. So we ask, why do we have to plant exotic species? For example, mahogany. The fruits are 1 kilo each. I have weighed them. And if you walk in a plaza and a fruit falls on your head, what's going to happen to your head? And in the case of the Indian tree, Polyalthia longifolia, they have snakes, no? Many snakes, because they don't have branches. And if you climb trees, I climb trees, even up to now, I know that if there are many branches, people can climb them. So snakes don't like trees that have people. But trees that have no branches, have no people, it's difficult to climb. Try climbing a tree without branches. So the snakes love them. Anyway, we come now to Maasin in Iloilo City. Watershed, 7,000 hectares, but more than 50% was reforested with mahogany and I think bamboo. So why was it that despite the reforestation, when Typhoon Frank came in 2008, why was it that Iloilo City got flooded, no, for the first time, when this is supposed to be all reforested? And that is because of the species planted mahogany. Being exotic species, they release toxins or poisons that kill the microorganisms of decay in the soil, the bacteria and the fungi. So without bacteria and fungi, the leaves and the twigs, they just accumulate. And you go through a mahogany forest in the summer when the leaves are very thick, and it will just go crack, 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 okay? So that is what happened to Maasin. When Typhoon Frank dropped 1 meter of water, the watershed was like concrete. No, it was like cement. It was hard, no organic matter. So the water just went straight to Iloilo. So that's why you do not plant exotic species in watersheds. Not in watersheds, not for biodiversity, not in public places, not as shade trees, only in commercial plantations. You want to earn money? Sure, no problem, because they are very fast growing. So we should plant native species. And the last 10 years, no? Go native, native, native. And plant a native trees. But the question is, what native trees to plant? So now we come to the beech forest species that are adapted to heat, wind, and sea spray with thin leaves, thickened cuticle, low habit, but I'd like to highlight multiple stems and early reproduction. We'll get back to that. Because of this, beech forest species are colonizers that can tolerate full sunlight, inadequate water, poor nutrients, and are found from 1 to up to 200, even 400 meters above sea level. I've seen them planted. So this is the second importance of beech forest in this lecture as reforestation species for carbon capture or sequestration, because they are colonizing species for the lowlands, not for highlands. So in our second book, total of 156 species, half of them are trees. So we have 80 tree species, but I minus 20 species that are, I call hardcore, because they want to be near the sea. Sa Bisaya pa, I know some of you are Bisaya, mingawon sila o walay dagat, mga matay. So these species you cannot plant away from the sea. So we still have 60 species for reforestation, for lowland reforestation, because they go up to this elevation. So my NGO again prepared a manual on nursery and outplanting, the propagation of beech forest trees, written by about 10 of us. Half of us were foresters and half were enthusiasts. One was an insurance agent, the other was a music major, the other was a surgeon, but all loved native trees. That was our common denominator. So what do you do when you want to propagate? You start with seeds. These are all seeds of beech forest species. Or you start with wildlings. What you see out in the forest, you collect them and transfer to your nursery. And that's why, yes, like Mr. Henry, most of this is from my own experience, my pastime, if you can call it. So I started this nursery in 2000, 2003. And by 2006, mga 3 years old na, 4 years old na, I had my first outplanting in a church. And 2 years after, I had the second outplanting in a tree farm. Okay? This is the tree farm. This is right in my home. These are old photos. My granddaughter is now 16 years old. So that's really a long time ago. But just to show that these are beech forest species. And I take them to a sapling stage before I outplant. If you are not sure, you cannot visit them every day, you better plant 3-year-olds, at least for me. So this was our tree farm when I retired in 2007. My husband and I did not go on a trip to Europe. We bought 3 hectares of land and for our tree farm. And you can see that these are the big saplings, mostly beech forest. And our sons and even the dog goes tree planting. I'd like to highlight this one. Bani or Baluk-Baluk. There's a town in Pangasinan named Bani, and this is the tree. This was the parent plant. P is parent in 2007 in the book. And then the seeds, after I get seeds and measure them for the book, I plant them. So in 2008, this is the first generation. F1 is filial generation. These are the seedlings, which I planted in the tree farm. So these are the seedlings that grew in only 3 years. 2008 to 2011, nanganak na siya. That is what we mean by early reproduction. Remember, one of the characteristics of beech forest species, early reproduction. So in reforestation, you want early reproducers, bata pa nanganak na. In family planning of Filipinos, you want the opposite, no? Late reproduction. 2020, this is that tree, just a single tree. Look at the bani, no? And it is a legume. That's why this was barren land, but you can see how healthy it is. It is a beech forest species. You see, this is the beech, and we said that multiple stems are characteristic of beech trees. Why? Because the typhoons come. When the wind comes and breaks one trunk, you still have two remaining, no? So this is this is for insurance of the survival of the tree. But if you look at the administrative order of DNR for ideal tree species, they said if you have stem forking, meaning you have multiple stems, it is unacceptable. So I hope they are no longer using this DNR, because this is a criterion for, you call timber, no? Straight, they call boles or trunks, but not for coastal protection. You have different needs, so you should not apply this criterion to another function. And in fact, after Yolanda, this bani remains standing in Batad, Iloilo. Here. So, how do we restore native forest? First is the nursery. You should know what native trees you have. Find the mother trees, set up a nursery, plant your wild seeds, and your tender loving care. You bring them to a sapling stage, and then you have the outplanting. So this is based on my experience. I did not get this from a book. First, you must plant in a secure area. If it is not secure, then anybody can cut down your trees. Plant during the rainy season, especially during typhoons. That is the best for the plants. Not for you maybe, but for the plants. Anyway, it is the plants you are trying to grow, no? Yourself, you can take a bath afterwards. And do not plant during El Nino, for sure. If you know that it will be El Nino, and the weather forecasters, they can tell you na, in January pa lang, they know that it's an El Nino year, do not plant. You keep your seedlings, because regardless of what you do, they will die. And then, for me, no, at least 2 to 3 years, because they're sturdy, and also have tree guards for protection from animals. So this was our tree farm. The rice land, very barren. If you are an agriculture person, this is a hard pan. That's very bad for plants. In 2008, no, we had a small nipahat. And then after 10 years, these are the trees that we planted, native trees, and mostly beech forest trees. I counted, no? We had planted 46 tree species, not trees. Maybe we have about 200 trees there, but 46 species of native trees. And then the last 2 weeks, it's rainy season, so we planted 35 saplings. So the total species of trees is 80, more or less. That's why I call this our biodiversity garden. And as of 2016, the beech forest species that we planted after the El Nino, almost 90% survived. El Nino of 2010 and 2016. But the non-beech forest species, the dipterocarps, kung ano pa, less than 20% survive. This is what I mean. No? When you have a barren area for reforestation, do not plant dipterocarps and all these maarte na species. You go for your colonizers because these are colonizers, and at the beginning, this is what you should plant. So I just have a few last slides. The beech forest species, the F1 generation is the anak. We produce 36 species. The F2 generation is the apo, 15 species. So here's the anak, some of the anak F1 species, and some of the apos, F2 species. So very sustainable, no? Sustainable because you are able to keep seeds. You keep seeds and then for the next one and the next one. So I see this on Facebook. Sambales, mga DNR ha, Sambales, Acacia auriculiformis. Ayan, Acacia. Cotabato, Gemelina arborea. Ayan, Gemelina. And Agusan, my home province, mahogany. And these are not just dozens, these are thousands that they plant, no? So we have our native species. Bakit naman ang DNR? What does, those of you who have DNR friends, please relay this to your friends. Ano ba naman? Why do we insist on these exotic species when we can easily grow? I have shown it, no? I have grown the anak, I have grown the apo of these beech forest species. Ito pa, expanded NGP, produced daw 20 million. But what indigenous species do you have here? Agroforestry is probably introduced species. Fuel wood is probably ipil-ipil. So the only native is ilang-ilang and nipa. So what are the species here? We do not see too many. Maybe there's some Nara, but this is bamboo and these are vegetables. So the seedlings, to start with, wala silang seedlings ng native species. That's why they cannot plant. Yun ang problema. Actually, you go back to the nurseries. Again, why not when we have all these books on native trees? We have all these materials. And the last dozen slides. This is the churchyard where we planted in Dungon B. So I asked our pastor, we don't have any Dungon trees here. Can I plant? And she said, yes. This was long ago. My hair was still black. So when she said yes, I looked for wildlings of Dungon, grew them, and 2006 we planted. And this is the photo album. In 2013, it started producing fruits. So that's only 7 years, no? And these are the other native trees in that small churchyard. We have about 15 different species. Of course, Dao is not a beech forest, but all the rest are beech forest species in our churchyard. This is Bitaog. I show this because some of you are from Mindanao and I am from Agusan. So produced in Iloilo, this Bitaog. It was flown to Davao and then was trucked overland to Butuan and planted in a university. First flowering at 5 to 6 years, early reproduction. No? This is Father Urius in Libertad, and that is where the tree was planted. In 2018, 2 years ago, I tried to visit my, what I call my babies, no, whenever I'm there. So now it must be much bigger. But last few slides, this is the Bitaog of Magallanes, Agusan Norte, or Dangkalan in Tagalog and in Ilonggo. Really a beautiful tree, 600 years old, declared the centennial tree, and given a stamp and a marker. But that was all that it was given. It was, you know, really visitors paradise. You have plenty of pictures on Facebook, and then it fell. A major branch fell. So this is what happened. 1998, it was declared centennial. In 2017, 2 branches broke. There was no wind, no typhoon, no rain. They broke because of fungal rot. No, there were fungi because in the branches. If I can go back, the baliti, you know, the strangler ficus or baliti, grew on the branches. Nobody checked it, so they accumulated organic matter and fungus, and with the fungal rot, the big branches broke. So this is no more. This beautiful bitaog tree of Agusan is no more because of negligence. You give it an award and then you forget about it. I think that's not the way to treat it. So this is, we go back to the church. This is dumon with seeds. This is kanumay or malatinta with seeds now into seedlings. The seedlings that I show you are from seeds that I have distributed, not to other people, and they send me the pictures of the babies. And if that was the church, this is from our tree farm. There are 2 albicias, and both beautiful. This is kasay, and this is akling parang in Tagalog, or payhud in Cebuano. And they have been producing seeds for the last how many years now. So for example, these are seedlings from all over Visayas from kasay. This is the mother tree, and these are the seeds. These are seedlings from the sister species, Albizia procera or payhud. I have about 2 or 3 mother trees in my tree farm, and these are. And finally, these are the last 3 slides now. We have a group in Panay. So we have a seed exchange, Panay Bailuhay. Bailu is exchange, it's the same as Cebuano. So these are seeds, mostly my seeds during our first meeting. But we also had a lecture from a visitor from Cebu. Si Daniel lectured to us. And we also exchanged seedlings. And then we had a second seed exchange just last month. Again, these are bunny seeds and some other seeds that I brought. So we have these native trees. My question is, why can DENR not do this? Why can they not put up the nurseries, organize seed exchanges, and plant the native trees instead of this acacia? And our group, which used to be called Panay Native Tree Enthusiasts, also had lectures. Like, this is actually a beach forest lecture like I'm giving now, but it has since been renamed Lunhaw Madiaas by our organizer. It's supposed to be a much deeper Ilonggo. I don't know, I'm Cebuano, no? So I don't really understand, pero sige lang, okay lang gihapon. And finally, this was our group in January before COVID, no? So we had our meeting, pwede pa, walang social distancing. Now, of course, wala na. But this was 2020. We go back to 2012 or 2010 when the Philippine Native Tree Enthusiast Group was organized, Philippine Native Trees. And this PNTE, if you are on Facebook, nanganak na ni siya og maybe 5 or 6 native tree groups. And this one, SONATA, maybe SONATA dili anak sa PNTE. But anyway, pariyenti gihapon. And this was our audience with Secretary Simatu in connection with the Wildlife Act. And because you are banned from, you're prohibited from gathering wildlings in that Wildlife Act, which is not good for native tree enthusiasts. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's proceed to questions and answer and interactions. We have a question here from the chat box. Hello, Doc Jen. Where can I cite the dangers of exotic trees? As you mentioned that it kills microorganisms, hence halts the decay of leaves. From Nico Adrian Perez.
I think, you know, I'm a biologist. So just from my observation, I have not done the experiments, just from my observation, no, that you have toxins or poisons from the exotic trees. And actually, some ask, nga naman, or bakit, yung native trees, wala ba silang poison? Wala ba silang nakakapatay ng microorganisms? My answer is, all plants, they have chemicals. They have chemicals that are poisons, that are poisonous. Kasi yung mga tanim, they cannot run away, di ba? Pag may problema sila, they just stand there. Hindi kagaya ng animals like us, no? If there's a problem, we either fight or flight. But plants cannot do that. So they have all these chemicals. But the difference is that the native plants and the native microorganisms of bacteria and fungi have been together for a long, long time. They have co-evolved and they have come to live and let live. But is it okay? But the introduced microorganisms, but the introduced trees, the poisons of the introduced trees will kill the native microorganisms, no? So where can actually what Nico wants is to cite the dangers. Nico, I think you can Google this. You Google exotic species and then what are the toxins, but I can ask the botanists, no? The best people to ask will be the botanists and the foresters, and actually the plant chemists, the plant physiologists also. So yung sa akin is just stock knowledge. Okay ba yun?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Actually, I asked a question because I'm developing a presentation. Presented mga future na mga partners sa tree planting activities dito sa amin sa Cotabato. So, yun na po. I'm trying to develop a powerful presentation. So, isa doon siguro is yung reliable source ng bakit dangerous ang pagtatanim ng exotic trees lalo na sa ating mga denuded lands. So I think much better na meron talagang publish if meron na publish na information regarding sa exotic trees sa Philippines. So but it's helpful na answer, ma'am, from you. So thank you so much po.
The other thing, Nico, that they do, no, they not only kill the microorganisms, they prevent other native species from taking root. Kasi nandyan na sila, that's when they become invasive. Yun ang tawag na invasive. Have you seen mahogany? Have you seen the seeds, no? When the fruits release the seeds, they fly all over, and once nandyan ang mahogany seedlings, wala, you cannot have anything else. So that is the other negative effect. By the way, I am a zoologist, no, but I just love plants. So I'm doing this because I like to do it. That's why I'm not very familiar with the literature. So if I'm going to Google it for you, you might as well Google it for yourself. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much po.
Question, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening.
Introduce yourself. And
yes, Ruben Gamala from UP Iloilo.
Hey,
Good evening. Yes, from Jurgenne. Thank you for making it possible for me to catch up sa lecture mo. The more I'm a public administration student, no, and faculty at the same time. And I was disturbed that at the same time challenge ako doon sa presentation mo that it seems to me that the government, DNR particularly, is not keen on developing indigenous species which are appropriate for certain zones, no, eco zones natin. Could you please comment further on this, ma'am?
First, a number of things. First is yun yung sabi ni Miss Earth na sana yung science bigyan ng importance. Kasi obviously hindi talaga, no? The science is there already. Hindi binibigyan ng importansya ng government. Secondly, I think the government goes for the easy way out. Easy way. What is the easy way? Kasi meron ng technology for the exotic species. You know, when they teach forestry, of course, their materials are from the US, Europe. So the silviculture or the propagation technology for the exotic species like mahogany nandyan na. So tamad ba mag-develop for the native species? Yun. So actually, it's convenience by convenience that they go for the exotic species when in fact NGOs have shown that we can do the native species, no? By the way, the native tree enthusiast groups, yung PNTE, 13,000 members. SONATA, I don't know, 1,000 siguro. Altogether, I think we have thousands of members already who are doing native trees. Now, the third, Ruben, I will not say here in public because I might be charged with libel. So I will talk to you na lang in private why it continues.
Yes,
But
please.
I see smiles and I think some of you know the reason. So ato na lang na.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Can I follow up, sir, please?
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm looking at sa governance aspect, Ma'am Jurgenne, no? Kaya maganda ditong ina-expose mo na hindi lang siya we're looking at the ugly reality, but what could be done. So if you mentioned about the role ng NGOs where you belong, and probably is there a model na, Ma'am Jurgenne, wherein sa local government na nangyayari itong government, civil society, and then probably a private sector na nagkakasama-sama to isulong itong beach forest natin, itong coastal ecozones natin.
That's a good question, Ruben, no? Kasi yung mga native tree enthusiasts, mostly mga private individuals, mga civil society, but there is one ideal where all the components that you mentioned converge. Kasi ako nababasa ko ito sa Facebook, no? And I think I'm a member of that group, NNTE, Nabunturan Native Tree Enthusiasts.
Okay.
Asa na? Davao na, no? That's in
Davao
Davao.
del Norte. Davao del Norte.
It so happens the head is a councilor in that municipio, no? He is a councilor, so he's with the LGU. So being there, they set aside a budget for sa ganito that was arboretum or something, and then a museum. Really, how municipal budget should be spent, no, for the good of the people. So you have something that demonstrates native trees, and then you see them very active. So here you have the LGU, private citizens. I don't know if they have support of industry, but this is one model I think that is really worth documenting. Dapat ma-document and then disseminate the information so that other LGUs in other places, no, are still idealistic. Medyo bata pa, no? They have not yet become traditional politicians. They will see, ay, pwede pala ito, no? So, yun, that is one thing that can be done where you have all these things converging and becoming successful. If this can be replicated, if that can be replicated. I don't know something similar sa Visayas or sa Luzon. If you do, I haven't heard about it. But yung Nabunturan, I really admire that.
Okay, sige. Thank you, ma'am.
Doc Jen, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good to see you.
Doc Jurgenne, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir Dennis, may I have the floor?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. Doc Jurgenne, good evening. It's good to see you. The last time we met was in FPE, Regional Consultation, I think. So, so for Cebu, actually, if I remember well, we had some tree plantings on the river banks. And I think we had the wrong species. It's only now that maybe the promotion for beach forest trees should be somehow promoted. Because the last time I recall, tanan nga tanom, magitanom sa riverbank sa Cebu City Rivers, namatay to. So, kining beach forestry sa Doc, okay lang ni siya sa riverbanks because we're trying to, it's quite difficult to look for tree species that would thrive sa riverbanks. No? We have about the big rivers here in Cebu, because we come from the Central Cebu River Basins, although I'm with the water district. we have nurseries in the water district too. So I think yung ano ko lang, yung supply of beach forestries, yung seed collection, seed gathering, maybe we don't have much supply of beach forestries, Doc. So I don't know if how would that be possible. We'll try to propose to the basins. And number two, I was just curious with the dangkalan tree because my roots are from Negros Occidental and came from a place of dangkalan. I don't know if I could ask even just for one seedling of dangkalan so I can plant it back in Negros. I don't know if you're selling it or how much or so that would be all, Doc. Back to you, Sir Dennis. Thank you very much.
The second question is easier, no? I can give you how dangkalan, if pick up basis, kaya I have dangkalan in my nursery. The first question is, you should really approach it. You ask the question, are the rivers freshwater or are they tidal, no? They're near the sea. Kaya kung tidal, then you will have beach forests and then going to mangroves. But if they are freshwater, then you have different species. So, sa beach forest species, not all of them can be sa riverbank. Yun, no? You should look at the species that are waterlogged. Bangkal is one of them. Bangkal and putak. Those are the two species nga makaagwanta. They can tolerate, no, waterlogging. So, but at the same time, depende sa slope of the bank. Is it steep or is it gradual? Kaya kung gradual, you can plant those. If it's steep, you'll have to hold the erosion, maybe mga grass, vetiver grass or something, while the seedlings are still growing. Plus, maybe not directly sa near the water, but a bit off, no, mga siguro 1 foot. Nara. Pterocarpus indicus. Nara, a forester friend of mine told me that they are very good sa gullies in mountains, you know, where the water rushes, because the roots of Nara, murag riffraff. They act like riffraff, no? Where you have soil, open soil, like cement. They hold the soil. I have seen this. I have pictures in I have another tree farm actually, where we have the Nara holding the roots. So, but not directly there. You have to keep the soil for a while, and then when the Nara grows bigger, then it's effective in holding that soil. So okay.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Welcome.
Dr. Jurgenne, good evening. I'd just like to read some of the questions in the chat portion of the Zoom. I'd just like to read. Maybe first is a comment, no? A question from LRP3 Farm. Hello, Doc Jen. Can I ask what native trees are good to plant for riparian forest buffering? Thanks from Leyte Reforestation Project. And we just knew from your presentation that the trees are planting in the riverbanks are beach forest trees. Nice presentation. That's the first question, Doctora. The next one is, one of the problems you mentioned is the strict regulation in collecting native trees. Can you suggest how we can propagate our native species at the same time protect them from biopiracy? Did you get that, Dr. Jurgenne?
Yeah, I'm reading it. I'm reading it here. Actually, right now the enforcement is not very strict, no, and for those of us that have, well, I don't know what the term is, but that have integrity, so that this is really for the environment, no, for reforestation, then we are able to collect seeds and wildlings. But once the Wildlife Act is strictly enforced, that will be a problem. So the native tree group, SONATA and all the NTEs should make an audience with DNR to revise the Wildlife Act for, especially for forest trees, and allow regulated regulated harvest. For example, no, yung wildlings, you should have a certain density. If they exceed so many seedlings per square meter, then you can harvest, because obviously the seedlings under the mother tree will not survive because the mother tree is there already, no? So those are excess. We practice this for mangrove rehabilitation. We use wildlings, mangroves, because it's very obvious you have 99 seedlings in 1 square meter, only one will survive. The 99 will be sacrificed. We are able to, we call it harvesting or collecting the interest from the capital. We treat the wildlings as interest that can be collected, no, without negatively affecting the capital of your forest. So I think it's time that the different, ang PNTE, the Philippine Native Tree Enthusiasts, and the PNP-CSI have had discussions and drafts of amendments or revisions to that wildlife in connection with the collection. But I think the more groups will join together and present a stand with the DNR, then we should have that straightened out. But the point of biopiracy, that is also a very important point, kasi not everybody naman, we are not all saints. No? There are some there who are sinners, and they have selfish motives for collecting. We don't know what, no? So yun. So it's good to have transparency. So we can easily, those of us that have groups, no, SONATA, PNTE, kami sa Panay, you will know naman, you can weed out the rascals, no? You know the rascals, and you can easily know if there is regulation, there is monitoring. But thank you for that question. That's really an important concern.
Hello, hi. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Right, sis. With regards, do you have any? You see, most of the big real estate companies go for properties facing the beach, no? And is there a way how to educate, regulate, or these big real estate companies on maybe setting up along the coastline beach forest, mangrove? Have you not met any resistance from these big real estate companies?
That's a very valid question, because the big real estate companies are both negative and positive. Okay. Kung wala silang awareness, no, and they just develop and they develop right to the high tide line, ayun ang walang awareness. And that is precisely why, if you have the law, the Coastal Green Belt Bill, then they have to comply, no? Kasi right now, the beach forests are not protected. They can be bulldozed and nobody will go to jail because they are not protected. So it's just awareness. However, so I think many real estate companies, wala silang awareness and they just go and develop, no? But I've seen on social media, not directly the beech forest, but I see ng postings of mga endangered species, no, that you don't usually see, and birds that are not so common. So I ask those who post, where was this? And then it comes out from my questioning that these are subdivisions next to the beach, but that the homeowners are quite enlightened and they keep a no-touch zone for the forest which has all these animals. They protect it, no? They protect it. So I don't know how many subdivision companies are like this that are enlightened, but yun, it is because of awareness and enlightenment. So maganda sana kung may green belt bill talaga. Yun.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you have more questions? How about for Sir Henry? Do you have questions for Sir Henry? regarding the previous topic? Okay, I will read one question here.
Oh.
Madam, what native trees are advisable on a sloping mountainside where a pine tree grows about 600 to 700 ASL? Thanks. From Gary SB.
Mr. Gary, as I said, I'm a zoologist, but because I love trees and plants, I learned by myself about mangroves, kasi sa aquaculture ako, and then beech forest. But again, as I said, hanggang 200 meters above sea level lang. So your question, you should go to a forester, actually, forester or botanist, no? And Los Baños has many of those experts. I think I should not even try to answer that because I'm not, I don't have the competence.
Okay. There's question also here from Bards Estrada. Beech forest species also feasible for elevation above 500 MSL?
I don't think so, no. I think 200 is comfortable. Actually, Agusan Marsh is 200 kilometers from the sea, no? But you see mga 1,000 beech forest species in the Agusan Marsh kasi that's only 20 meters above sea level. That's what I told you, no? So long as you are below 200 meters, even if you are 1,000 kilometers from the sea, with sea level rise, a long time ago, the propagules from the beach went all the way there. But above 200, I think medyo, ano na, it's not optimal, and especially above 100, it's too cold na for the beech trees. So, other trees. And we have, look, to those who ask about species, Philippines has 3,600 species of trees, no? 3,600. Ang beech forest, 160 lang, no? 80 species of trees lang. So 3,600 minus 80. So for your 500 meters and above, you have another 3,000 species to look at, no? For this. So yun lang, kulang lang talaga ng information, ng ano. But you know what? You encourage your children, your relatives to study forestry and to study all these species. And that's how we can get information on these species, I think.
Okay, thank you. There's a question here for Sir Henry. I would like to ask what percentage of your farm's income is from the output of your agroforestry system? How much from the learning sites and how much from tourism visitors? So maybe some estimations, figures, sir. Pera-pera na to.
Maybe on because agroforestry involves livestock and trees, no? So crops, particularly on coffee and other things. For example, on coffee, we don't just lately we process the coffee, but previously I converted the coffee seeds into seedlings, and I do good money out of the coffee seedlings. So it's a what we call there's a change of percentage of income earner, particularly on the progress of farm tourism business. And then there's an effect also of farm tourism during the pandemic because we closed the farm for visitors for 3 months. And then we do having business with crops as what I have presented in the previous video. And now we do seedlings of cafe for the previous starting from the onset of rainy season, May, June, and we're doing business with seedlings. So it's not maybe it's not accurate that you compare your income earners on the different components of the farm, but we're looking if the new normal can go back to open 100% of the farm tourism, because the tourists that local and what we call local and some foreigners that will be going to the farm So when they stay there, they pay, and then when they have meal in the farm, breakfast, lunch, dinner are all produced in the agroforestry farm, because agroforestry does not only refer to trees. No, it involves crop, it involves livestock within the agroforestry system. So the only thing that we do in the crop and livestock is we value add the what we call the raw material. Uh, for example, the meat. So we don't sell the live whatever. For example, the swine. We don't sell the live, but we butcher, we cook and serve to our guests. So that's the value adding in the agroforestry system. So we do in the farm tourism business. So we diverted our marketing strategy on producing goods intended for our guests. So we increase the number of guests that will be coming into the farm in order that we can provide them with goods and services, the food that ready to eat, and also some goods that are produced in the farm. They just the same with the concept of take home vegetables, uh, processed food, and then other things that are produced on the farm, seedlings and others. No, so that's how the farm tourism works in an agroforestry system.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have a lot of time for this. Maybe we will have a part 2 continuation.
Dennis, Dennis.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there's one lang din I'd like to depende kasi kung ano yung pinapatanim ng DNR, especially sa NGP. Senros and Penros are only implementers. Can we do something to encourage the DNR to plant native trees in the NGP? You know what? In 2015, a group of NGOs, including FPE, all the major NGOs had an audience with DNR na pwede ba mag-native trees na. And then nag-sign sila ng covenant or something, mag-native trees na ang DNR. But I was really shocked to see in social media na wala, it did not go down. Wala, it's only on the top. Pero it doesn't go down yung sa DNR. And one reason, ito na yung sabi ko, I cannot say it in public kasi I will be charged with libel. Why hindi talaga nakasmile si Henry? Why talaga, in spite of all the na mga signing, mga promises and all the science and all the dikit pa rin doon sa exotic. So yan ang malaking problema. You are shaking your head, no, Ben? So that's really a major problem. I don't know. We should elect people siguro who are incorruptible.
I think there's
Sige,
a last question, ma'am, for you from Mylene.
Mahirap yung 300 to 400 meters above sea level. Maybe you can, Mylene, what you can do, since it's near the beach, you can testing lang. Try a few seedlings of different species. For example, ang bani is really, you can try planting some bani at 300. I've seen balitbitan, that's a beach forest species in Muswan, yung university doon. Balitbitan, so that's a beach forest species. So that Muswan is 400 meters above sea level at nanganganak. I saw fruits. So test lang some of these species. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's kindly open your camera and let's have a take a photo for this. Thank you for our speakers, our guest speakers. So we will have maybe part 2 in the future. Yeah. So we have so many questions. I know we have so many topics for this. Okay. I'll take a photo. Thank you very much, speakers. Miss Iris, Sir Henry, thank you for sharing. Thank you, Ma'am Jurgenne, for sharing. So kindly open all your cameras and we will have a group photo.
Mag-igot ang tanan?
Yes, we can. Igo lang ni Doc. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, let's try. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Sorry.
Padala sa
Okay,
email,
coming.
please.
Ruben, okay. 1, 2.
All right.
Okay. Another.
More.
Okay, another group.
Inopen mo yung camera mo? Yung camera to? Ah, wala. Okay.
1, 2,
Padala
3.
sa
Smile. Participants. Okay. I think this. So yeah, thank you everyone. Yeah, thank you participants.
Thank you so much,
SONATA.
everyone.
Thank you.
So we
Padala
will
sa
have a
email.
session. We will have a next session. Thank
Oo,
you.
email please.
Good night.
Yung pic, yung class pic.
Yung class
Yes,
pic.
yes. Class pictures. Yeah, participants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Amping, take care.
Stay safe.
Stay
Yes, sir.
safe.
Thank you, Sir Ben.
Ping sa tanan.
Thank you.
Jurgenne is
Salamat
po.
kayo sa tanan.
Thank you. We will see you again. Yeah. We just need to.
Sige.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Sir Dan, thank you po.
Yes. Thank you everyone.
Sa inyo.
Perfect. Thank you.
We will have more session of this.
Thank you.